What's up, New York Knicks fans? Welcome back to the podcast. It is a New York Knicks post-game live stream here on January 9th, directly following the New York Knicks versus Portland Trailblazers and a huge New York Knicks win. Before we get into today's game and a little bit about the state of the New York Knicks, make sure you all are hitting that thumbs up button, subscribing to the channel bottom right hand corner as you watch this video. I thoroughly appreciate the support, and hit the live chat. Let me know what you think about tonight's win, about the New York Knicks team in general. Make sure you hit the live chat, hit the comments. I'll be displaying them, and let's have a discussion. It was a great win. We're going to be talking all about it today. I'm thoroughly excited for this team and the trajectory that they're going towards. Make sure you're following me all on my social media handles at CPNY Sports. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. I was supposed to have a special guest in some unfortunate circumstances. He had to cancel. My guy, Ariel from the Gold School Retro Podcast. I'll try to get him back on to get his thoughts and opinions about the state of the New York Knicks shortly, but he cannot join me tonight. So I'll be flying solo on the podcast today, talking about this Knicks win versus the Portland Trailblazers team. If you're just tuning in, hit that comment section. Let me know what you think about this win. Let me know what you think about the New York Knicks team, 5-0 in the OG Anunoby era. I got Mason checking in to the stream. He says, yes, LFGK. Sub CP, let's go Knicks. Absolutely, Mason. Absolutely. I'm feeling those vibes too. The vibes are very high with this New York Knicks team. Absolutely. It was an amazing win. 112-84 in the Garden over the Portland Trailblazers. The New York Knicks win. This was a wire-to-wire win from start to finish for the New York Knicks against the lowly Portland Trailblazers team, dealing with some injuries, a young team in general. Obviously, they got Jeremy Grant signed to that extension, that 5-year extension. Scoot Henderson, a top 5 pick most recently, also got also in their starting rotation as well. So a very I want to say lackluster Portland Trailblazers team, and the New York Knicks found a way to sort of dominate in fashion. Were able to clear out the bench later on in that game, got the necessary guys off the court to prevent injuries, which is always great. We got some Ryan Arcidiacono minutes. Deuce McBride. I want to shout out Deuce McBride. You see him here in the graphic. Deuce McBride might truly be one of my favorite New York Knicks, and he is going to have an extended role on this team moving forward, and rightfully so. I've been calling for extended Deuce McBride minutes ever since that playoff stretch last season when the Knicks were having a little bit of a hard time with Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. I figured, why not see what Deuce McBride has, especially given what we know about his defensive side of the game. What we all didn't know, and I guess most fans didn't know what to expect out of Deuce McBride on the offensive side, is this kid can command the offense and shoot the ball. 21 minutes, believe he scored 16 or 17 points tonight. Deuce McBride truly might be that guy to lead the second unit at the point guard position. I know a lot of people are talking about potential upgrades for either the starting unit or maybe a Malcolm Brogdon, who the Knicks saw tonight as well, only playing 13 minutes, finishing with 2 points for the second unit. But Deuce McBride, if we are looking for any sort of backup point guard, look no further, because Deuce McBride is absolutely him. Now, I understand I might be getting ahead of myself in terms of what Deuce McBride can actually do over the long haul of the course of this season, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of this kid. I've liked Deuce McBride ever since he entered the league. The defensive tenacity is something that feeds right into Tom Thibodeau and his scheme. Um, and Mike is saying it right here. Absolutely. I think with At the 2, McBride could be an elite shot creator. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I completely agree with you. Whether he's running the 1 or 2 in the second unit, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm confident in his ball handling abilities. And honestly, I'm confident in his spot-up shooting abilities as well. We've seen that already with Deuce McBride here in the early parts of his extended role following the Manuel Quickley trade. So I know this kid can shoot. We've seen inconsistent shooting from him and the lack of sample size over the first couple of years of his career, but now he truly has that opportunity to shine and thrive. Now, like I said, and Mike, if you're still in the chat, keep dropping your thoughts and opinions. I know we were going back and forth. I appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, tell your friends, tell your family, any Knicks fans to subscribe to the channel over on YouTube, trying to get to 400 subscribers. Like I said, I'm flying solo today. On the podcast was supposed to have my guy Ari from the Gold School Retro. He's dealing with some stuff. Couldn't make it today. I'm gonna have him back on in the near future. But absolutely, McBride has all the tools to be a problem for opposing teams in the second unit. This second unit is a lot better than what a lot of Knicks fans are giving them credit for. A lot better. We see Quentin Grimes. Has anyone recognized what happened to the Quentin Grimes that we've seen for the first couple of the first quarter of the season, first 25 games? Because that Quentin Grimes that we all knew in the first quarter of the season is dead and gone. We see a brand new, rejuvenated Quentin Grimes. 16 points tonight off the bench, shooting lights out, taking the ball to the rack when he needs to. Have we ever seen Quentin Grimes attack the rim like this at any point this season? Because I sure haven't. Not until the last couple of games, that is. Got Jay checking into the stream here. Sub Chris. Question, I know it's early, but do you think the Knicks were holding RJ back, or was RJ holding the Knicks back? I don't know how weak the Knicks were last week since the trade to make an opinion. That's a loaded question, Jay. That is a loaded question. I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was a little bit of both. I think the personnel that we had surrounding RJ and Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson was never going to allow RJ Barrett to reach his potential. RJ Barrett. So if you all have been listening to any of these live streams from the start, when I started doing post-game lives this season, I was very impressed by the way RJ Barrett started off this season. And I thought maybe this is a different version of RJ we're going to see throughout the course of the season, because we all know he starts off very slow usually and then gets into that rhythm January, February, later on to the season. This year started off a lot different. And I was like, maybe he's really accepting that third role and being that third option behind Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, excuse me. He got injured and things just changed when he came back from that injury. He missed a couple of games. Things just changed. So I think he was a little bit of both, though, because I'm not going to lie to you. I like everything the Knicks are doing from top to bottom. Everybody who hits the court for the New York Knicks in this rotation under Tom Thibodeau, post RJ and Quickly trade, I love what they're doing. I love it. I didn't see that version of the Knicks with RJ on the court. Now, like I said, it's a two-way street. The Knicks were holding RJ back, and I do think he's going to thrive in Toronto. Absolutely. I wish him nothing but the best in his career in Toronto. It's a homecoming for him, and I think him and Quickly are going to do great things over there. But it makes you wonder, right? To your credit, to your question, who was holding back who? And my simple opinion, I know this is the easy way out of this question, is to say both, but it truly is both. The Knicks were holding RJ back, and RJ was holding the Knicks back. It was mutually beneficial for the Knicks to part ways with RJ Barrett, both from an on-the-court standpoint and from a salary cap standpoint. Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a great question, and I hope I answered that to the best of my ability because, like I said, it's a two-way street in terms of RJ Barrett. And shout out RJ Barrett real quick. I've utmost respect to RJ Barrett and the way he's handled the media questions ever since the trade. His quote today really got me in my feels, basically saying the Knicks were lackluster, for lack of a better term. That's not the term that he used, granted, but he said, we weren't in a good spot when I entered that organization. And I feel good about helping and being a part of that change in that organization in New York. And New York helped me to become a better man for it. Absolutely. Hats off to RJ Barrett. Nothing but respect on this side over here for RJ Barrett. Let's see. He couldn't. Well, I got TMS in the chat. RJ's been repping the 6 hard now. Love to see it, as he should, man. This is a homecoming for him, and he should be repping the 6 hard. And I think Toronto, objectively, I know we like to talk about fleeces, and I know I'm getting a little bit off topic here in terms of the Knicks' huge win, but let's be honest, this was a boring game, 112-84, wire-to-wire win. I'd much rather interact with you all in the chat and answer your questions, because we all know how this game played out from start to finish. Shout out OG Anunoby. I'll be talking about him here in just a second. But yeah, absolutely. He should be. Absolutely. This is a mutually beneficial trade. And I think the Raptors did a great job of getting proper compensation to replace a guy like OG Anunoby. It seemed like it was just a complete mutually beneficial trade. I know from the optics of it, a lot of Knicks fans were upset at face value when the trade went down. Maybe some fans were attached or overly attached to RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickley. I, for one, was a little worried about how we were going to replace Emmanuel Quickley's production off the bench scoring wise. But we've seen in the last 5 games since OG Anunoby's come over, Quentin Grimes steps up, Deuce McBride steps up. It's been a total collective effort. I love the sort of alleviation of pressure that Precious Ochiuwa now is able to provide Julius Randle. Hats off to Julius Randle, too. Literally, hats off to Julius Randle. Workhorse. On his way to 3-time All-NBA. Regardless of what your subjective thoughts and opinions are about Julius Randle, the Knicks organization, ever since he walked into the door in 2019, has changed for the better. And it started with Julius and RJ both, that duo. Julius Randle, 2-time All-NBA power forward. Stop throwing him in conversations of trade packages surrounding Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't want to hear it. Stop throwing him in trade packages surrounding Zion Williamson. I don't want to hear it. The Knicks are 21-15, now 22-15 after tonight's win. Julius Randle ain't going anywhere. I can promise you that. Promise you. We're going to be talking about this, Mike. I'm going to be talking a little bit about where the Knicks go from here. In one of my last slides of today's podcast, today's live stream, I'm going to try to keep it quick. Maybe going to be on here for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes talking Knicks basketball. I'll talk about DeJounte Murray. I'll talk about Malcolm Brogdon. I'll talk about backup center options, aka your guy Gafford. And I know we had a couple of exchanges on Twitter surrounding that. I told you you're crazy. I still think you're crazy, but I respect the outlook and the creativity of that potential trade package for Daniel Gafford. I respect it. I agree with it? No, but I respect it. And that's what it's all about. So shout out Mike tuning in. Like I said, guys, I thoroughly appreciate the support. If you're watching, if you hopping in and out, hit that comment section. Everything surrounding the New York Knicks, drop them in the comments. Whether it's your own opinions or questions you want me to answer on here, I will answer them. Hit that thumbs up, comment, and tell your friends and family to subscribe to the channel. Almost at 400 subscribers. I thoroughly appreciate it. And you know where to find me on all my social media handles as CPNY Sports on Instagram and X. All right. Do I need to talk about this Trailblazers win anymore? I mean, this is a game that the Knicks should have won by 20 plus. They did just that. And we got contributions from the bench. Deuce McBride stepped up in a big way, had 15 plus. Quentin Grimes, same thing. Dante DiVincenzo starting the game off the way Dante DiVincenzo does things. Shout out Dante DiVincenzo as well. I'm going to shout this whole entire Knicks roster out. Because Dante DiVincenzo, with as much crap that we saw on Twitter surrounding that 4-year, $50 million deal, which, whether you knew it or not at the time, was the writing on the wall that the Knicks were letting go of Emmanuel Quickley by this trade deadline. Absolutely was the case, by the way. I stated that in one of my podcast episodes 3 months ago. Go check that out. Maybe I'll even link in the description down below, but it's there. I talked about Emmanuel Quickley back in around, 3 months ago from December somewhere around August time, give or take. Shout out Dante DiVincenzo, a true two-way player. He reminds me of like a minier Josh Hart because he plays small, but he's always going to be that hustle guy to go after those offensive rebounds and even those loose ball defensive rebounds. And he is gritty, man. He is gritty. Along with that three-point shot, which is exactly what the Knicks needed in terms of bringing him in, he's a gritty ball player. Shout out Dante DiVincenzo. But can we talk about the newest addition in OG Anunoby? 5-0 in the OG Anunoby era. That's right, 5-0. 5-0? Mason, I'm still wearing my RJ Barrett jersey too. I have no shame. I'm always going to wear my RJ Barrett jersey. He'll be one of my favorite Knicks. Not enough for me to tell you all that this is a bad trade and that the Knicks are going and we're in a worse direction than what they were when they had him, like some Knicks Twitter personnel do. But I will always rep RJ Barrett. I'll say that. OG Anunoby, man, this kid is a stud. CAA client, 26 years old, two-way player. I can't believe it. The Knicks were pursuing OG Anunoby for so long, and they finally got him. Finally were able to work out a deal with the pesky Toronto Raptors in that front office. Pending all the litigation that was going on between that lawsuit between the Knicks and the Raptors, they were finally able to get a deal done. And we are reaping the benefits, and we are seeing it immediately on both sides of the ball. Strong start tonight for OG Anunoby. 16 first quarter points. Hit 4 threes in the ball game. Caught fire there early on. 23 points overall. Was able to get rest in the fourth quarter with it being a blowout against the Trailblazers. Plus 26 in the plus-minus category. One thing that I notice about OG Anunoby, and I challenge you all if you're Knicks fans, and if you just like the game of basketball in general, a lot of people talk about off-ball players. There's been a lot of discourse about off-ball Jalen Brunson and a potential fit for DeJounte Murray with the ability of Jalen Brunson to play off ball. And like I said, I'm not going to get into that right now, but watch the way OG Anunoby plays off ball, both on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. It's amazing. He knows exactly which spot to get to at all costs. And one of my favorite things about OG Anunoby, that very first game when he knew limited plays in the playbook from Tom Thibodeau, his first game as a Knick. I'm not sure if it was a direct quote or someone just basically said that's what. Oh, I think it was Jalen Brunson said, this is what OG Anunoby told him. He's just going to be cutting to the basket all day long. He's just going to be making stuff up on the fly and cutting to the basket. The Knicks pre-OG Anunoby era, with the exception of Dante DiVincenzo, would never cut to the basket. And this is where I will get on RJ Barrett a little bit. RJ Barrett refused to do any sort of cutting to the basket when he didn't have the ball, at least in a sample size that I watched. And this is what we get with OG Anunoby. Off-ball movement, creating shots for himself because he knows exactly where to go to at all times. And that is, if that wasn't apparent enough on the offensive side of the ball, watch him on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, we know he's a great on-ball guard. We all know that he knows how to guard the ball when he's on the player who has the ball. But watch him when he is off-ball defending. Watch him. I challenge you. It is a thing of beauty. This is a true Tom Thibodeau player. And did I forget to shout Tom Thibodeau out? I must have forgotten. I'm sorry, guys. Shout out Tom Thibodeau. Changing the Knicks culture, the Knicks play style into a gritty, tough, physical team. 90s Knicks basketball 2.0. Today in 2024. Shout out Tom Thibodeau. He's endured a lot of hatred on Twitter. He's endured a lot of stray bullets from Knicks fans giving their horrendous takes. Tom Thibodeau changed this Knicks organization for the better. Shout out Tom Thibodeau. Mike saying OG is the first player in NBA history with a minimum of plus 100 in the plus minus category in the first 5 games of the new team. Things happen when OG's on the court. Things happen for the better. That doesn't surprise me at all, but that is impressive. Shout out Mike, dropping some knowledge on the True Knicks Talk Podcast post-game live stream. Shout out you. That is impressive. But like I said, like I was going back, and yes, Daniel, shout out Daniel. Appreciate you joining in the stream. OG was a great trade. Great doesn't even do this trade justice in terms of what the Knicks got out of OG Anunoby and what they're going to continue to get from OG Anunoby. Extend that man ASAP. He's not going anywhere. CAA client, Leon Rose knew exactly what he was doing. And shout out Leon Rose. I've been shouting out everybody today. I've been shouting out RJ. I shouted out Julius. I shouted out Tom Thibodeau. Let me show Leon Rose some love. Sleepy Leon. Leon's not sleeping. I promise you. Leon is not sleeping. Up in those suites? Nope. Those box offices, Leon is not sleeping. He just doesn't tell the media his next move. He doesn't deal with the media. And that's fine. That is fine. Leon Rose is working those phones right now as we speak. He is not satisfied with a blowout win over the Portland Trailblazers. He's not satisfied with 5-0 in the OG Anunoby era. He's going to make this roster better. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Absolutely, Daniel. He's thinking about what move to make next. Respect Leon Rose. Respect Leon Rose. A combination of Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau, and Leon Rose. That trio changed the way we view Knicks basketball in the matter of 4 years. Think about that. If you're a Knicks fan, whether you're tuning into this live stream right now and hearing my rants, because I'm going on rants. I'm tired of what I see on Knicks Twitter. This is my platform. I get to rant now and throw my takes out there. And hopefully anybody that likes to listen will agree. But if not, friendly debate in the comment section. I welcome it. In the matter of 4 years, the trio of Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau, and Leon Rose changed the trajectory of the Knicks organization. Absolutely. I'll never forget about Brunson. But we got to remember, this is year 2 Brunson in the Knicks uniform. This organization, the change that I'm talking about, started in 2019 onward. That success started in 2020 to 2021 with that playoff appearance, with Julius Randle being surrounded by Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock. Let's not forget about that. That was Julius Randle's team. And yes, he faltered in the playoffs with those guys surrounding him. Yes, he didn't have a great playoffs last season. Understood. But this organization was on the upward trajectory before Brunson got on here. Brunson was to take the Knicks to that next level. And they did, getting into the second round of last year's playoffs. And guess what? OG Anunoby, this is like a stack. This is like dominoes. You see where Leon Rose is going with this? It's a long, painful process. Leon Rose is not going to do what the Nets did. It's not a short-term fix, adding Kyrie, KD, and a bunch of guys surrounding those guys, a bunch of role players surrounding those two guys. He is stacking dominoes ever since he walked into this building. And that's what I think a lot of Knicks fans, as impatient as they are, do not see. And if I'm misspeaking here about anything that I'm saying about how the Knicks have been progressively been getting better since 2019, y'all let me know. But I've been watching the way Leon Rose has been moving in silence and the dominoes that he's stacking to make the Knicks a true powerhouse again. And I love it. OG Anunoby is not the end goal. OG Anunoby is a piece of that puzzle, just like Jalen Brunson was a piece of that puzzle. He's building a complete unit. And his next move is your guess is as good as mine, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming soon. But yeah, impressive stuff from OG Anunoby. The way this guy moves off ball, he does not need the basketball in his hands to be effective. He goes after loose balls. He goes after offensive rebounds. His length, 7'2" wingspan, causing havoc, wreaking havoc on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I mean, this was a steal for the Knicks. This was a steal. With the way they were moving, the trajectory that the season was going down with IQ and RJ, this team needed a reset. They needed a guy like OG Anunoby, a true two-way player. Now, I think RJ Barrett's defense was underrated. I think a lot of people crap on RJ for his defense, and I think that it's somewhat warranted, but I truly do think that he was a little bit of an underrated defender. Obviously, nowhere near OG Anunoby's caliber. Obviously, I mean that's that. I don't have to state the obvious, but I will, because that's exactly what the Knicks needed. Spot up shooter, adding 3-point efficiency into the repertoire of the Knicks rotation. Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson can light it up from three. This team is progressively becoming a well-oiled machine. And you saw how they faltered against the Miami Heat. They got beat by Jimmy Butler and a bunch of role-playing outside shooters. And it was embarrassing because they couldn't match that production from the outside. Today's NBA, you need snipers from three. And Leon Rose realizes that. That's exactly what he got the Knicks. Exactly. Here are your updated Eastern Conference standings. This has not taken into account the results from today. The Orlando Magic lost, I believe, to the Timberwolves. So they are now 21-16, and the Knicks jump up to 22-15. So I do have to update these standings, but this was obviously pre-game tonight. These are the pre-game standings, but look at this. The Eastern Conference, for the most part, is wide open, with the exception of maybe the top two teams. I think the Celtics and Bucks stay where they're at, respectively. But we saw the ass whooping the Knicks just put on the 76ers, a Joel Embiid-led Sixers team. And I saw that shade that the Philly Inquirer or whatever news outlet was writing, saying the 76ers in a couple were shorthanded and got whopped by the Knicks. They got manhandled by the Knicks because they were shorthanded. They weren't shorthanded. They were not shorthanded. iHeart took care of business against Joel Embiid. The Knicks took care of business against the 76ers. So that third seed, 3 all the way down to 8, wide open. You see all these 21-15 teams, Heat, Magic, Pacers, Cavs, Knicks. I thoroughly expect the Knicks to overtake each one of these teams. Now, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. We're not even midway through the season. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. But 5-0 in the OG Anunoby era is getting me hype. It's getting me hype. Flat out, it's getting me hype. So I look at this Eastern Conference, and I smell blood. If I'm the New York Knicks, I smell blood. Heat are not better than the Knicks. The Magic are not better than the Knicks. The Pacers are not better than the Knicks. The Cavs are definitely not better than the Knicks. The Bucks even are faltering. That defense looks shaky. I know they've got the best of the Knicks so far, pre-OG Anunoby era, but that team looks shaky. Just what it is. Celtics undisputed first in the Eastern Conference, but like I said, outside the Celtics, I don't see a team on here truly better than the Knicks top to bottom. All right, February 8th trade deadline is approaching. Where do the Knicks go from here? When the OG Anunoby trade went down, I was very skeptical about the Knicks making another major trade before the February 8th deadline. Very skeptical. I was thinking more of like a backup center option, because Isaiah Hartenstein, I was not expecting to just go off like he has in Mitch's absence. I was thinking, let's go get maybe a bench piece. Let's go maybe get a backup center and call it a season. and see where the Knicks go this season with that group and hope to regroup in the offseason and push that threshold next season. But no, my mind has completely changed. I will say I was dead wrong. Absolutely dead wrong. Absolutely. Yeah, they are shaky, Jay. They are shaky. I'm telling you, that defense took a major hit with the Drew Holiday trade for Dame. They can score with the rest of them. You catch them on a good night. The Knicks have seen the Bucks at their best. Like, you will not shoot. Nobody in this league will shoot better than what the Bucks have against the New York Knicks so far this season in those losses. And finally, they cooled down in that Christmas Day win over the Bucks. But those games before that was absolutely ridiculous, the pace that the Bucks were on against the Knicks. But yeah, they look shaky. Absolutely. Absolutely. But where do the Knicks go from here? A lot of talk surrounding DeJounte Murray. Some murmurs around Malcolm Brogdon. Backup center options. We got Mike in the chat talking about Daniel Gafford. I did release a podcast episode on this podcast talking about backup center options for the New York Knicks. I believe it was during the Taj Gibson signing. I believe it was. I could be mistaken. Anyways, go back, check it out if you're interested. If not, we'll talk about it here. And then Quentin Grimes, that's been the main question because obviously he's playing a lot better as of late. Give him his props, his shout outs earlier on in this live stream. But what happens to Quentin Grimes? Because if the Knicks want to trade with the Wizards, if they want to trade with a team like the Atlanta Hawks that are looking to get younger with NBA ready talent, maybe mixing in a pick or two, Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride both are going to be the names that teams want, guaranteed. And Quentin Grimes probably more so than Deuce McBride. Although if Deuce McBride keeps playing like this, teams are going to want him flat out. So DeJounte Murray, I know there's a lot of discourse surrounding DeJounte Murray. I'll give my thoughts and opinions. I'm not going to talk too much about this trade deadline and what I foresee the Knicks doing. I think a move happens. I'm not sure to what scale, but let's talk about a hypothetical DeJounte Murray trade. If the Knicks go out there and engage with Mr. Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and the Atlanta Hawks, that trio surrounding a possible DeJounte Murray trade. We all know the beef that Clutch Sports has with CAA and the agency battles that started in the LeBron Miami days when he switched representation. Go do your research surrounding that. That's where the Leon Rose versus Rich Paul beef comes into play. It's good that the two sides are willingly and openly willing to meet and sort of alleviate that tension between the two agencies, but that hasn't happened just yet. So DeJounte Murray is anything but a sure thing because that does directly impact, regardless if anyone wants to acknowledge it, these agencies do have a little bit of a say. I know ultimately the Atlanta Hawks have the final say, but let's keep it a buck. The agencies do have a say as well. That is their player that they're representing, and they want their best interest at heart, or at least the agency's best interest, however you want to see it. A lot of debate on the timeline whether DeJounte Murray and Jalen Brunson could work together and would that backcourt work for the New York Knicks. I think it's a yes and no type answer. Now, what I will say, beyond just do they work together, is DeJounte Murray that piece to take the Knicks over the top in terms of being contenders? Is he that player? Because, dude, I wanted DeJounte Murray in a Knicks uniform when the Hawks were trading for him. I wanted the Knicks to go after him when the Spurs were putting him on the trade block. That's when I wanted DeJounte Murray. And listen, I'm still open for DeJounte Murray. If that happens, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and complain. He's a capable player. Mid-range game is great. Doesn't shoot the ball from three particularly well, although he has this season. I think he's shooting just over 38%, although he's a 34% career three-point shooter. I think he fits. I think we all know Jalen Brunson, whether he has the ball predominantly in his hands or if he's playing off ball, he's going to be a great player and he's going to get his. So if DeJounte Murray comes in and takes a little bit of that possession time in terms of having the ball in his hands away from Jalen Brunson, are Knicks fans going to be happy? Probably not. But is it still going to work out in the Knicks' favor? Probably yes. Because Jalen Brunson is versatile on the offensive side of his game. That's what I love about Jalen Brunson. But I think that DeJounte Murray isn't the end-all be-all for the Knicks, even if a trade is in the works between the Knicks and the Hawks. I don't think he's the end-all be-all. The Knicks are in a little bit of a weird position here, and that is all in lieu of the Mitchell Robinson injury. And I know a lot of people are questioning Mitchell Robinson's status with the Knicks moving forward with the way that Mr. Isaiah Hartenstein has been playing here as of recent. And we had some Daniel Gafford talk with my man Mike up here at the top of the podcast. So if you're still here listening, make sure to drop those opinions. I'll throw it up on the screen so the collective viewership can sort of see that. But what happens to Mitchell Robinson in lieu of such... Well, listen, Isaiah Hartenstein is playing out of his mind, 1, and 2, he's a free agent at the end of the season. He's going to get a bag, and he's going to get a big bag. Bigger than what we all were projecting him to get when he was in that backup center type role. And he was even playing phenomenally right behind Mitchell Robinson. That was the best 1-2 center duo in the league when both those guys were healthy, when Mitchell Robinson was healthy. Now it's a little bit of a question game with the Knicks front office. Are the Knicks convinced that they can compete with Boston and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference with Isaiah Hartenstein as the starting center? The way he's been playing, as of recent, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely they can. Absolutely. But is that sustainable over the course of the rest of the season? That is something that we all need to objectively think about. Whether the Knicks are truly trying to compete for a championship this season, or is this a stepping stone type season for this offseason to play out and getting that star player in the door in the offseason to compete for a championship next year? I know the collective fan base is going to say this is the year we start this year, and I'm completely on board with you because I'm not in the business of wasting years. I cover the Mets on my channel. If you're a Mets fan and you're happening to be watching in on this, not subscribed to my channel, I've been talking about that all on my channel as well. They're in the same situation, waiting for 2024 to sort of go through before they can get back to being championship contenders. Now, the Knicks and the Mets are not in a similar position at all. I understand that too, roster construction-wise. But the NBA is a little bit different than baseball. So with Mitchell Robinson out, are we confident the Knicks can be contenders if they get a guy like DeJounte Murray in the door? Now, I'm not sure, even with the DeJounte Murray, the Knicks are beating the Boston Celtics. I'm not going to go that far. The Bucks, yes, for sure. The Bucks and down, yes. The Celtics, I still probably take the Celtics in a close series. Objectively speaking. But adding a guy like DeJounte Murray provides you a lot of flexibility. Signed that extension with Atlanta after coming over from the Spurs. Has a long-term contract attached to him that the Atlanta Hawks, presumably with where they're at, do not want anymore. They want to get that off the books, and they want to get younger. They want to get more controllable assets. Assets that they're not really tied to long-term. So this plays directly into the strengths of the New York Knicks. Directly. Because if DeJounte Murray comes over in a trade before this February 8th trade deadline and he lights it up and the Knicks looked like a well-oiled machine, you can make the case for him to stay on that contract with the Knicks moving forward into next season. But if some discombobulation happens and they don't look quite like the way they're supposed to with a Jalen Brunson and DeJounte Murray duo, and they're not sort of gelling, well, guess what? Other teams are still going to want DeJounte Murray. Other teams are going to still want DeJounte Murray. You can flip him this offseason for the guy that you truly want. That is possible. Now, those names I'm not going to even get into. People talk about Paul George being CAA, maybe wanting out of the Clippers. I have my reservations about Paul George. Devin Booker is a name, also CAA. Situation in flux in Phoenix. We'll monitor that. I'd be more willing to take on a Devin Booker, but I still have my reservations on that. I don't want to jump the gun. Here's what I'm saying in terms of looking forward to this offseason. Donovan Mitchell's still out there. A lot of people talking about, oh, well, he's 6'1", and Jalen Brunson's also short, being 6'1". That backcourt's never going to work. The defense is horrible with those combinations. I don't buy into that. I'd be fine with Donovan Mitchell on this team as well. I think Donovan Mitchell's a winning player, and that combination would be fine, even given the stature. I think it's a little bit overrated, but I understand where people are coming from. But like I said, my thought process here is that DeJounte Murray is serviceable for the rest of this season, and if worst case comes to worst, you can flip him for the player you truly want in the offseason. It's really a win-win trade if you think about it, regardless if he fits or not. And I agree with you. Murray is a strong maybe. It doesn't convince me wholeheartedly that it puts the Knicks in that realm to compete with the Celtics, although it puts them closer. I agree with you, Jay. That's a pretty good take. But like Mike was saying at the top, there's backup center options here for the New York Knicks if they sort of want to get bigger in that second unit. Obviously, Jericho Sims is not going to be seeing a bulk workload for the rest of the season. It's not going to happen. I think that ship has sailed, and I don't think the Knicks are willing to do that. I think the Knicks right now in the second unit are a small ball lineup with Precious Achiuwa presumably being that big man. And he's undersized at what, 6'8", 6'9"? He's undersized as it is. So if the Knicks want to get bigger in the second unit, well, Mike was saying Daniel Gafford from the Washington Wizards, you'd have to make the money match because he just got a fresh deal there. And the Knicks cap situation isn't really the easiest to sort of predict next offseason anyways. I'll give an update on that a little bit later as we head closer to the trade deadline, but that's a little complex of a situation, the Knicks cap space. So when you come and go and talk about a guy like Daniel Gafford on a new contract, it gets a little bit tricky. And I think Evan Fournier would be the guy to go, obviously, to make money match in a potential Daniel Gafford sort of trade. You got Andre Drummond's out there. Andre Drummond with the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are a mess. Andre Drummond is a backup center option for the Knicks' second unit behind Isaiah Hartenstein. You got Kelly Olynyk with the Utah Jazz. Not a traditional center, but a little bit more of a presence and can shoot the three ball as well from the outside, which definitely helps the Knicks. Can take on some center duties in a potential trade there. I like Kelly Olynyk a lot. I like the name Kelly Olynyk. I like his game, and I like a potential targeting of Kelly Olynyk in before this February 8th trade deadline. If I had to pick any name for a backup center, it'd be Kelly Olynyk. I know he's typically classed as a power forward, but you can slot him in as a center. You really can. But I know my man Mike likes Daniel Gafford. I think the trade that Mike said was Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier, and a first-round pick for Daniel Gafford. I think that was his trade proposal. Now, the whole Mitchell Robinson situation, are we giving up on Mitchell Robinson? We know he has lower leg injuries consistently, whether if it's his knee or ankle. He just recently got ankle surgery. I know that's a big concern with Mitchell Robinson moving forward. I know that history often repeats itself, and it has with Mitchell Robinson. Where are the Knicks front office's minds with the status of Mitchell Robinson and the status of Isaiah Hartenstein? That's the grandest question of them all, and that's going to answer a lot of questions for the New York Knicks moving forward. And lastly on here, this is the last thing that I'll be talking about before the next slide. Quentin Grimes, is he on the trade block? Because for a while this season, it looked like Quentin Grimes, the way he was going down, the Knicks couldn't wait to get rid of him. The Knicks probably couldn't have waited to get rid of him. but he's filling in nicely in that second unit. He's looking more confident. I'm not sure if it was the pressure of starting alongside Julius and Jalen. I'm not sure if that was the pressure getting to Quentin Grimes, but he looks like a lot different of a player right now alongside Deuce McBride in that 1-2 combination in the second unit. So monitor Quentin Grimes because, like I said, if the Knicks go to the Hawks for a potential DeJounte Murray trade, Quentin Grimes is going to be the center of those conversations. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And if the way that Quentin Grimes is playing right now, if we can get any sort of consistency in that version of Quentin Grimes in the second unit, I'm having reservations about trading him for DeJounte Murray. I'm sorry. I know that sounds far-fetched. I know that sounds homerish. I understand that, but I really do like Quentin Grimes' upside. I really do. So continue to monitor that situation. Like I said, the Knicks have a lot of question marks still, even post OG Anunoby trade. The Knicks still have work to do. It remains to be seen if it's going to happen by this February 8th trade deadline or if they're going to wait to the offseason, depending on how they view this season and their projections and their expectations. Jay saying Quentin Grimes is getting a lot more touches as well. Absolutely. He's playing the ball exactly right. We know he's a great catch and shoot shooter. We know that. I want to see him confidently take the basketball to the rack a lot more because when Quentin Grimes takes the ball to the basket, that opens up his outside game. That's when Quentin Grimes thrives. When he starts chucking up three after three after three, timid, passing the ball the second he gets it, not looking to blow right by the defender, which he can do on a consistent basis more often than not, that is the version of Quentin Grimes that I do not like on the court. All I got to say about Quentin Grimes. I've been trying to preach to the choir about that this whole entire season. It's early, but I agree with you, Chris. Yeah, it's really early, man. It is January 9th, so it's hard for me to sit up here and talk about these talking points. I know that they have been taking over Knicks Twitter. A lot of people are looking more forward to this trade deadline than actually watching the Knicks win ball games, which I think is absolutely absurd. I understand looking forward to the trade deadline and making this roster better, but the Knicks have games to play, and they've looked great in the last 5. So I'm going to focus on that. I know we got a month just about, give or take, until the trade deadline. These topics will come back up on the True Knicks Talk podcast. Rest assured, I'll have my guy Ari from the Gold School Retro podcast. His YouTube's down in the description down below. Make sure you go subscribe to him for some great NBA history, nostalgic videos. You don't want to miss out. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. He'll be back on with me at some point. We'll talk about this slide. Let's talk about who the Knicks have coming up. They're traveling to Dallas Thursday, January 11th, 8:30 p.m. I want 6-0. Give me 6 in a row. Give me 6-0 in the OG Anunoby era. I really haven't been paying attention to West Coast basketball whatsoever, so I don't really know where Dallas stands in terms of the Western Conference standings, but I want 6-0, man. I want 6-0. We got Big Task in the chat. What up, Big Task? I thoroughly appreciate you. Just about wrapping up on this stream here, talking about the Knicks' upcoming game. Make sure you listen, guys. I went on a rant today on this podcast, on this post-game live. I gave everybody their props. I talked about Leon. I talked about Tom Thibodeau. I talked about Julius. I talked about RJ. I talked about Quentin Grimes, OG. I talked about it all on this podcast because I haven't made a Knicks podcast episode. I haven't been on a post-game live on this channel, on the True Knicks Talk podcast in a long time. So I needed to air everything out because I'm loving what I'm seeing regarding this team. So big task. If you're watching this, if you missed everything else I said before this point, make sure you go rewind. You're not going to want to miss it. You're not going to want to miss it. I went on a little bit of a rant. Got my boy Hit Squad. Giants podcast, Feeling Blue podcast going live on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Luka's coming for the triple dub against the Knicks. I don't care. Luka can have a triple double. Give Luka his triple double. Knicks still getting the dub is what matters to me. Front of the chest before the back is my mantra. That's my mantra or mantra, however you want to say it. Yeah, so much has happened, Big Taz. I know ever since the last time I did a post-game live stream on this podcast here, so much has happened. I addressed it all. I talked about OG Anunoby and what he's meant to this Knicks team over the last course of the 5 games. I talked about his off-ball movement, him being that elite two-way player, him getting to all the right spots on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, something that the Knicks are not accustomed to. The cuts to the basket, working the offensive glass, his 7'2" wingspan, that reach that he has, that enables him to do so and be so pesky on the defensive side of the ball. All that, I talked about it. Yeah, hit the replay. Sorry you missed it. I'm gonna try to do these more often. Especially as we get to the trade deadline, I'm gonna try to do more stuff on the True Knicks Talk podcast a lot more often. Whether it's pre-recorded episodes or going live like this, I find going live is easier. Just because I don't have to do 5 takes if I mess something up. If I mess something up on the live stream, I correct myself. All is fine in the world and we move on. So a lot more content coming from the New York Knicks on this coming from me regarding the New York Knicks on this channel. So I thoroughly appreciate it. 22 and 15 on the season. These standings need some updating. This was before tonight. Orlando Magic did lose. They are 21 and 16. The Knicks are now 22 and 15. These are your Eastern Conference standings. I will do a little bit of a backtrack in case anyone missed this. I don't think any team on this list, maybe outside of the Boston Celtics, are better than the New York Knicks. At all. So Hollywood Ray, if you're paying attention to this, I know you're a big Celtics fan. I had you very early on in that season opener this year, talking Knicks versus Celtics. I'm going to have you back on. We're going to talk some basketball, and we're going to talk about the outlook of the Eastern Conference. As a Celtics fan, I want to know who they are most scared of. Because obviously, I think most likely the answer is going to be the Bucks. But the Bucks just don't look right, man. I don't know. Something about this Bucks team don't look right. They don't look right. OG Anunoby is the antidote. That's right, Big Task. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Knicks look nice. Hit squad. Absolutely. Hey, your Nets found a way to sneak into this graphic. They're still holding it down in the play-in. 16 and 21. So you still got at least a little bit to look forward to in basketball season. I know our New York Giants offseason is kicking off. Whole bunch of controversy there. We'll be talking about it Thursday, but it is NBA season, man. Sit back, enjoy the Nets. They're going to be a play-in team if I had to sort of guess. Maybe the Hawks sneak in there, but I don't know what's going on cross-side of town. I'm not concerned about Nets basketball. I'm concerned about the New York Knickerbockers. Let's not say things we don't mean. Oh, man. I say a lot of things I don't mean. I'm kidding. Anything that I say on this podcast, any of my podcasts, I truly mean. Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't get my hopes up. Oh, man. Yeah, Big Taz. Porzingis gives us a lot of trouble. I'm not sure what the infatuation is whenever the Knicks play the Celtics of going underneath screens. When Kristaps Porzingis is just sort of chilling there and they set a screen for him at the top of the key, he's torched us on that exact play so many times in the couple of matchups so far this season. If that happens again in the next matchup, I might have to rip my hair out. I cannot continue to see Kristaps Porzingis going off on the Knicks at the top of the key because the Knicks refuse to go over on screens. I can't see it happening. Fix it. My heart needs to be better in that aspect. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, upcoming game. I talked a little bit about this. I did it all on this podcast, man. I did it all on this live stream. We talked about this nice win over the Trailblazers, how Deuce McBride really is coming into his own. Quentin Grimes is really coming into his own in that second unit. We talked about the presence of OG Anunoby, the 5-0 since the Anunoby trade. Talked about the Eastern Conference standings. We talked about potential Knicks news and rumors before the February 8th trade deadline. It's fastly approaching. We'll be talking about this graphic in particular, as well as the names you see a lot more in depth moving forward. We talked about the upcoming game. We got Jay with a prediction. The Knicks will be 4th or 5th by the end of the month. If I'm right, I'll jump on with you, Chris. Yeah, man, Jay, anytime you want to hop on, you're welcome. Thoroughly appreciate anyone who's willing and open to coming onto the podcast. All I ask is we keep it G-rated. It's my only rule here. But yeah, man, absolutely. I think the Knicks will jump a lot of teams. I think that they are going to inevitably be the 3rd seed and even jump the 76ers at the end of the season. I truly do believe it. I don't think the 76ers are better than the Knicks at all. And I'm not even going based off of this last matchup between the two. I truly don't think so. Roster construction-wise and physicality-wise, I don't think the 76ers have what it takes to be better than the New York Knicks when it's all said and done. I could be wrong. I'll take the 4th seed if that's what it is. I'll take the 4th seed. But I really do think the Knicks can get into that 3rd seed. Like I said, I think the Celtics and Bucks will remain 1 and 2 respectively, but that 3rd seed on is up for grabs. Any one of these teams, 3 and on from the 76ers down, any combination can happen at the end of the season, by the end of the season. We're still very early into the season. It's not even halfway over yet. I appreciate you all tuning in to the True Knicks Talk Podcast. It is January 9th, 2024, just approaching 11 o'clock on the hour. I thoroughly appreciate everyone tuning into the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed this little bit of Knicks discourse. First time in a long time I've been able to talk Knicks on the channel. I've been presumed and consumed with the New York Mets on this channel, but more New York Knicks basketball talk will be happening, especially as we inch closer to the deadline and definitely come playoff time. I appreciate you all rocking with me. Make sure you check out the replay in any part of the segment that you missed. It's been your boy CP. The Knicks are in great position. Don't let anybody in the media, not Gilbert Arenas, not Stephen A. Smith, not Richard Jefferson, not anybody on Knicks Twitter that doesn't know what they're talking about. Don't let any one of those people get you down about the New York Knicks. We're in good shape. New York Knicks basketball is back, baby. It's back. Madison Square Garden is back. Orange and blue is back, baby. LFG, absolutely. It's been your boy CP. I thoroughly appreciate the support. Hit that thumbs up. Tell your friends and your family that like New York Knicks basketball to tune into the podcast. Hit that subscribe button on the channel and hit that thumbs up button on this video. And follow me on all my social media handles. You know where to find me, X and Instagram, all day long, talking Knicks, talking Mets, salute Big Task, talking Rangers, talking Giants, all that good stuff. It's Guy CP. I appreciate y'all checking in with me, checking out the True Knicks Talk Podcast. I'm out. Let's go Knicks. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.